Good morning, traders. Hope you guys are all having a great morning so far. Like usual, I'm just going to be going over the foreign markets, pre-market action, the S&P, and the big holders. If you guys appreciate the content, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, maybe something else you'd like me to review. It would be greatly appreciated, but let's get right on to it. So, right here we got the Hang Seng Index. It closed sharply lower today. Coming back to the support level right here at 17,664. So that's going to be a big area to watch on the Hang Seng Index. Let's see how the German markets are performing so far. So German markets, looks like they gapped lower, but they're starting to close up that gap, so that's always a good thing. Now, the big thing to watch is to see if we reject this 15,132 level. If we do, then you're going to possibly get a push downward into close on the German DAX, and then the FTSE 100, which is British markets. We are rather mixed, which would make sense, considering that the Asian markets closed sharply lower, and then the German markets are holding up quite a bit, meaning there's probably some indecision on the part of the British market. So I would say for today, the big thing to see is I would expect some downside action mixed with some volatility is what I'm going to expect. A little bit of choppiness with some downside price action. Kind of similar to yesterday about midday, how we got that big drop. I would expect that with some choppiness, but trending mostly downward is what I'm going to expect on SPY for today. Let's see how we're moving pre-market on the big holders. So first one's always Tesla. Let's see. So we are currently holding that 217 support. Let's see where that puts us on the daily. So an inside day. So yeah, let's just see if we can hold 217. If it can hold 217, that's going to be a big level to hold. Now, if we get a push upwards, I would watch these purple levels. These are weekly levels. This is more of a daily level, the red. Now, if we break down 217, then what you're going to want to watch for is going to be a push further down to 191. Obviously, you have some levels in between there. You also have this gap close trade you could take, but just something to keep in mind. But the next one that we're going to be looking at is going to be Apple. Let's see what Apple has for us today. So, as I mentioned yesterday, the big critical level was going to be if we can end up holding this trend line. We held it. We held above 179 barely. So let's see if we're rejecting it pre-market. So it looks like Apple is flagging right now. So that'll be a big thing for SPY if it can bounce off this trend line and end up holding 179 and pushing above and trading as a support. That'll be a big booster to SPY, considering that also Microsoft also had a pretty rapid rise yesterday. I would not be surprised if we get an inside day, but I'm just saying what I see here. So, yeah, a flag forming up on Apple. So the big levels to watch on Apple are going to be for today. I would watch 179. If we can push 179, then you can get a push easily to 182. If you end up breaking down this trend line, you get a false breakout of this level at 179. Then watch the trend line as a support at 176. That would not be a bad level at all. And I might even consider buying up more shares if McDonald's ends up hitting my limit order. I'll buy some more shares of Apple with that. Next one's going to be NVIDIA. Let's see where NVIDIA is pre-market. So NVIDIA pre-market is at 454.80. We'll call that 455. So where does that put us? 455 is going to put us right about here. So the big thing to watch on NVIDIA is going to be a push to 468 if Apple and Microsoft look bullish. If it doesn't, then expect a push down to... It's really hard to tell. I would expect a push down to 436 if Microsoft and Apple start to get weak. Then I would expect to move back down. But I would say the highest probability likelihood is that you make a move back to 468. I almost forgot to go over Microsoft. How could I ever do that? So the big thing on Microsoft is going to be to watch this 360 resistance, 360 resistance on Microsoft. Now let's just say we continue to push higher. That 360 will be a critical level. Looks like we're having we're having if this continues, you're going to get a gap up. So you can try to get a gap trade on Microsoft possibly if this ends up holding. Now if we push down lower, expect 351 act as support in 352, 353. Our levels I'm going to be watching on Microsoft. And then let's see, last but not least, McDonald's. So McDonald's currently is holding at we'll call it 269. So I have an order in for 269.44 limit order. So when it hits that, it'll automatically sell it off. So the big thing to watch on McDonald's is going to be to see if we can end up pushing above 269.44. Next resistance I have is at 271 personally. 281.58. I forget if I drew that in as a take profit or as a support or resistance level, but I'm going to say to watch 271.30. That's going to be the next area which I think it's going to push to. We might even get that push today if everything starts to turn out great. Now, in terms of economic news, this is what we got today. So we got the U.S. trade deficit at 8:30. We got the Fed bar speaks at 9:15. Governor Waller speaks at 10 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock consumer credit. So you might get some volatility at 8:30 and 3. Typically when Waller speaks, you don't get too much volatility, but I would watch 8:30 and I would watch 3 o'clock. But that's what I'm watching today, traders.